Welcome back, YouTube. I'm with the Chuck, and today we are back again with another RLCraft video. Last time we did 100 days in RLCraft 2.8, but today I will tell you the story of my journey through 200 days in this masochist simulator that's masquerading as the RLCraft 2.9 update. My goals are the same as last time, meaning I need to kill all 3 final bosses before I can end this playthrough, so the 100-day videos will probably keep coming out until the last boss is slain. But in order to accomplish this goal, I'll have to journey through hell and back, fight off hordes of mobs, and even wager my life against disgusting parasites. I honestly don't know how long it'll take me to beat this mob pack, but you and I can figure it out together. This is the first 200 days of my RLCraft 2.9 playthrough. Now, let's get started. I spawned into the world one of the worst spawns ever. I spawned in the middle of the ocean, so far underwater that I almost died. I saw one of those underwater stone bases though, so I went in to see if I can find anything to help me live just a bit longer. The only thing I found was a wooden pickaxe and some food, so I used the pickaxe to mine some stone, but with nothing else in this building, it really wasn't that useful. I left the base to try to find something better, and I was immediately killed by a sea serpent. I respawned on the side of the mountain, and I saw one of those structures from my last video. This honestly was so funny to me because in my other RLCraft 100 days video, I ended up finding one of these on day 1, and it was one of the main reasons why I was able to progress that fast, and here we are again with the same type of thing. It's like the RLCraft gods just want to bless me with safety. The only sad thing was that this time in the building, it did not have a librarian villager at all, but that was okay. I found out that in version 2.9, some chests are locked, so you have to pick the lock. Isn't that just nifty? I could already tell that this was going to piss me off at a later date. Also, if you guys haven't noticed, the Lincolnites mobs look a little bit different, and that's because a subscriber recommended that I use a resource pack called Lincolnites Redux, and this resource pack changes the mobs to look a lot more vanilla, and I like it a lot. The enchants at the top chest didn't really look that good, but I did find a ton of food and some good starter weapons and items. I did some exploring of the area around my base, and I found a little camp with sleeping bags, so I took them. The camp also had some healing items as well. I found a waystone right next to the camp, and this is going to make it a lot easier for me to explore in this mod pack, since I can get back to my base fairly easily. The general area around my base seemed really safe, and I didn't see anything that might end up destroying my base, so I decided I would stay here. In the new update of RLCraft, you have to be very careful while drinking unfiltered water because there is a good chance that you'll get parasites from the water, and this will kill you. I went to gather wood so that I can use them to make my furnace. I cut down a few trees, and then I got a freaking heart attack when this guy popped out of this tree. I always forget that things just pop out of nowhere in RLCraft, but I was glad I was able to escape before the tree man killed me. I put my wood in the furnace, and while I waited, I decided to make some lockpicks. Lockpicking doesn't really seem like a very hard concept, but I feel like I'm gonna need a ton of lockpicks if I want to get all the loot. And also, trying to do this during a dungeon seems like an easy way to lose all your stuff. I made my filters, and I went out to kill some animals for some easy XP. I really want to see if I can end up making an XP farm like I did back in the previous version, but I highly doubt it. I killed more mobs and I leveled up my defense to level 4. I don't know why there's so many cows nearby, but I'm not really complaining. I need to make an animal farm for meat because you need a lot more treats to tame mobs in this version. So it's going to be a very long journey to get a flying mount. I found this brick house with some okay loot inside of it, and I noticed something in the woods, so I decided to come back later to see what it was. I opened the lock chest downstairs in my base, and I was really disappointed with the loot. I went back to that freaking thing in the woods, and it turns out that it was a village. I took a bunch of seeds so that I can make a massive farm later on, and I found out that mobs can break down doors in this update, and that is gonna be horrible. I spent most of the day exploring the village trying to see what I can steal for myself. There really wasn't anything that good, but I did find a vineyard, and I could come back to this vineyard later to get some grapes for some juice. I ended this day making a shield and going out to see if I can get some XP for some mobs, but this was a very bad idea. I didn't see any other mobs until I got attacked by this weird demon dog thing, and it killed me. I respawned, tried to get my stuff, and it killed me again, so I decided I'll just wait until morning to get my stuff back. I started this day looking around for all my stuff. I didn't really remember where I died, so I was just walking around until I found it. It took a while, but I found my stuff, and I also found this beach sea serpent, so I killed it with my bow. I went to look around the general area, and I saw this battle tower close by. While I was making my way towards it, I found another one of those structures, and this was incredibly funny. That's 2 of them in the first 5 days, literally right next to each other. The enchants in here were really good. I found 2 mending books, 2 protection book, a feather falling enchant, and also an infinity enchant book. I took the enchants and started to make my way back to base, but I saw something interesting on the way back. I decided to check it out after I put all my stuff away. I made my way back and I found out that this was a giant floating town. This place had a ton of librarian villagers, and also it had some really good loot. I found a ton of iron blocks, and this place was massive. It was massive and confusing to navigate through, so I was really just lost. But I found a waystone in like the middle of the town, so at least I can go to and from my base from here very quickly. Sadly, I got attacked and killed by this freaking fist while trying to get to the ship over here. After I died, I desperately tried to find my stuff, but it couldn't be done. I was walking around endlessly in circles trying to find where I died, and I couldn't see it. So I gave up and decided I was just making new stuff later. Now, I wanted to find the big castle because I wanted to see what was inside of it. But again, this place was really confusing, so I was just walking around in circles. It took a while, but I found the path to take me to the castle, and inside was a throne full of emerald blocks. But I didn't have an iron pickaxe, so I couldn't mine it. I almost got killed by this freaking rock, but I escaped inside of this house, and there was a chest with a diamond lock that I would have to pick later. I went back to my base to make some new gear, and I decided to start a chicken farm in one of those rooms, but I only got 1 chicken to spawn in. I also put up a clock so I can tell what day it would be. I went back to the town to try to find the other building I saw that was filled with iron blocks, but I got lost, so I had to climb up to the roof to finally find it. I also found a bunch of fishing stuff that I would need later because honestly, fishing is a pretty big part of this update. I went out killing mobs for XP, and while I was out, I went back to that battle tower. I destroyed one spawner and I started getting attacked by some zombies. After I killed them, I decided that I wasn't strong enough to keep doing this, so I decided to go look for more peaceful mobs to kill. I went back to the giant town and I found some redstone that I couldn't take last time, so I took it this time. I spent the next few days running through the town trying to find some good loot or, something of interest, but I didn't. So I went back to base and I put the stuff that I got away, and I used this small room to start my chicken farm. I used the redstone I found to make a compass, and then I made an atlas, and I spent most of the night killing mobs from the safety of my house. I spent the morning killing mobs to level up skills, and I got attacked and killed by this super fast green freaking crake. It got me trapped in the water, and we ended up killing each other at the same time. I got my stuff back, and then I spent the rest of the day killing more mobs for XP. I also made a thermometer so I can check how hot and cold I got a lot more accurately. Spent the early morning killing mobs for XP. Honestly, getting XP early on is going to be super tedious since I can't make a XP farm like in version 2.8. I wanted to explore a bit more, so I made a boat, and I found this super battle tower right across the pond. And I also found one of those floating ender structures over there. I made some earplugs so that I don't get attracted by the sirens nearby, and I made my way towards the ender structure. Also, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the new swimming animation looks really, really nice in this update. The chest in the middle was protected by a freaking diamond lock, so I couldn't access it. But I did find some iron and 2 diamonds in the other chest though. I looked through the chest at the top of the stairs and I didn't really find anything good. But immediately afterwards, I got attacked and killed by this hippogriff for no reason whatsoever. I don't know. Maybe he was having a bad day or something and he wanted to take it out on me. But I made more earplugs and another bow, and I rushed back to get my stuff. I made some iron lockpicks and started trying to unlock this chest over here. I figured since it had a diamond lock on it, it had to have something pretty good inside of it. But I really ended up wasting most of my lockpicks, and when I opened the chest, there wasn't anything inside of it. To be honest, the lock was probably the best thing I got out of the chest. I don't know how, but I got trapped in this freaking little house by this stupid bird. The big guy just wouldn't leave me alone, so I decided to wait him out to see if he got bored. It took a while, but it finally left and I made my way back to base. I wanted to see if there were any bounties on the bounty board that I can do for some quick loot, but I couldn't find one that I could realistically complete in time. I continued to work on my chicken farm, and I finally noticed that there was this secret spot underneath my base. This place was an underground brewery, but I couldn't access any of the barrels, and I didn't think I would be needing to make any alcohol. And all I'm gonna say is I was very, very wrong about that. I started this day breeding more chickens in hopes of making enough avian treats to tame a flying mount. Now, some of you who know about RLCraft 2.9 would know that you can't make avian treats with chickens anymore. But at the time, I did not know that, so I was putting my hopes into something that would ultimately fail. I went back to the battle tower to get more loot and XP. I broke this mob spawner and I saw a diamond. But I didn't see this hole, so I fell down below and I got jumped by the zombies.
Fuck. Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way. Oh my god, I am so fucked. Oh my god.
I ended up dying inside this tower, sadly, and I spent the rest of the day making new gear so that I could be prepared to get my stuff back. I rushed back to get my stuff, but a very strong zombie spawned, so I had to build up to avoid being killed again. The mobs had me trapped on this small wooden pillar, so I was trying to figure out how I could get my stuff without dying. I realized when I was up here that the zombies would go upstairs when I was in this side of the little structure, but when I moved over here, they would come back. So I tried to angle myself better so they can go upstairs while I destroy the spawners and get my stuff. But while I was trying to block off the zombies, I realized that my freaking stuff despawned. And I was so confused because in the last version of RLCraft, I don't think your stuff despawned. So you can wait all day and come back and your stuff will still be there. I was very, very mad that I lost all my stuff, but this was low tier gear, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But imagine if I lost some really good gear. So I decided that I couldn't play this harder and more tedious version of RLCraft if my stuff just ends up disappearing after I died. I didn't really think that was fair. So I decided that I was going to add in a gravestone mod at a later date. So at least when I died, I wouldn't be able to lose all my stuff in the process. Anyway, I dug myself out and I made my way back to base to remake all the gear I lost. The new run animation looks so freaking good and I just can't get enough of it. I spent the day killing mobs for XP and meat, and at sunrise, I finally got my defense up to level 8 and now I can wear iron gear. I spent the morning killing more cows and I finally got attacked by a freaking reaper. It took me a little bit to kill it because I kept missing my shots with the bow, but it died all the same. I made my iron armor and shield and I took care of my chickens for a bit. I went back to the giant town this morning to break the wheat for XP because I found this to be a better and renewable way to get XP than just killing mobs. I spent the whole day breaking and replanting wheat for XP, and it was honestly the fastest way to level up my skills. I spent most of this day farming for XP, and then I later went back home to breed more chickens. I also finally got my attack to level 8 thanks to all the XP I got from farming, so I started using this glaive I found a while back. I decided to try out some new weapons this day, so I made some throwing axes and a boomerang. I went back to the battle tower to test out my new might, and I wanted to play it safe so that I wouldn't get killed by some mobs. I was trying to cheese the mobs a bit by standing out of the way and hitting them with my axes and glaives. Weapons with reach are honestly so good because you can do so much damage for a safe distance. The boomerang was also a pretty decent weapon though, but make sure you don't lose it because I kept losing mine. I went back to feed my chickens and I realized that it was getting very hot. But I went back to the town to farm for more XP and ended up losing another boomerang because I decided to throw it in the water like an idiot. I went back to base to try to make some avian treats, and it was at this time that I learned that they changed the recipes for avian treats. And they also had a specific saddle that I needed for my mount. So I ended up with a ton of useless chickens. So you know what I did? I killed them all in a blind rage. Again, I went back to the farm for XP. You honestly need a ton of XP in the start of RLCraft, and there really isn't a better way to grind for XP other than farming. And if there is, I just haven't found a better method yet. I also decided to start another chicken farm in the basement of my base. I'll do this for feather and XP. This night, I took my soul gazer out to try to get some knowledge on the rocks. This is probably the quickest way to get the knowledge to level 2, but there is a 5-minute timer, so you can't really spam it. I tried to fight this porcupine today, and it was not having any of that. It chased me and almost killed me, but I managed to just kill it before it killed me. I made my way to the super battle tower, and I brought some golden apples to try to last a longer time. I tried to fight the mobs outside so that I could have more space to run away, and it was actually working pretty well. And then a blighted zombie spawned in, and that was a wrap. He was so fast, and I didn't really have any time to react, so I died. Most of my stuff landed in the water, so I had to keep diving back and forth to get my stuff back. And this was before I decided to get the gravestone mod, so I still had to worry about my stuff despawning. And I got my stuff back and went back to base for the night. I got attacked by this Zephyr while I was going outside, and it almost ended my life. And I just barely killed it. But then I got attacked by another random Zephyr, and I guess that's just my karma. I got my stuff back the next day, and I killed some more mobs and worked on my chicken farm. I spent the next couple of days doing nothing but breaking and replanting wheat for XP. It's kind of crazy how this is by far the most efficient way to get XP, and it's pretty much endless as long as you keep replanting the seeds. I would go back to base to feed my chickens, but I decided to grind this out to level up my skills. I went back and took this enchanting table and placed it down at my base. I enchanted some gear with some very basic enchants, and I used the soul gazer on another rock, but since this is a golden one, it gave me a lot more knowledge points than normal. I wanted to try to farm the mobs for Avian Treats because I found out that they aren't that rare. Killing these weird snails were kind of annoying because they would run away. I got some points from another rock and went back to killing the mobs for Avian Treats. I like this one a lot more since it's easier to kill and it drops lapis as well. I finally made some treats, but I knew I was going to need a lot more than what I currently have. I found a Dark Aegis and used the Soul Gazer to get more points so that I can summon them later. I gave the Aegis a name tag and named him Rudy so that he wouldn't despawn, and I kept farming him for more knowledge points. I killed the Enderman and used the pearl to make a summoning staff for when I eventually get some summons. While I was doing this, a freaking event happened, and I should have just stayed in this room, but I got too curious. I was actually vibing with the music from the event though. Let's just say that this event killed whatever villagers I had left. I wanted to try my soul gazers on one of the mobs, and well, just take a look what happened. Honestly, I got what I deserved for being too curious, but I'm not gonna lie, this next part made me so very mad. I spawned not in my bed, so I had to make a run for it to make it to my house, and I barely made it back, only for me to get killed by this piece of crap again.
Oh my god.
But this was my fault again, so I tried to come back and I got killed again this time before even making it into the house.
Oh my god, bro. What the fuck?
This time I made it into the house and I decided to wait a bit before going up. After like a few minutes, I went back up to get my stuff and I got killed again. And I was really pissed off now.
Where are you coming from?
I'm surprised I didn't throw something because I was livid at this moment. I waited again and went back and almost got killed walking through the door. I went upstairs and got killed again. And I'm surprised I didn't turn the game off. I finally got my stuff back and I decided I was done playing for the night for sure. But on a more positive note, I can finally summon Aegis now. I wanted to try my summons out by clearing out this tower and it went pretty well, but I got attacked by a very strong skeleton. I fed my chickens, but I wanted all of them to be in one location and not all over the place, so I dug a hole in the middle of the basement and I led the chickens inside. I also decided I was going to try fishing today since I've never done it and I needed a Neptunian ingot for the Stone of the Sea. The new fishing mechanic is kind of cool, I guess. You have to keep the fish in the green by moving it left and right with the arrow keys. I fished for a while, but I wanted to upgrade my fishing rod so that I can get better loot. I also enchanted the fishing rod with Luck of the Sea 3 emitting so that it wouldn't break and it would have the best chance to get me good loot. I went back to the giant farm to get some XP and I wanted to start making some potions as well. So I got some clay so I can make some bricks so I can make this alchemic condenser and retort. After I made it, I realized I didn't have none of the ingredients for the potions and I didn't really feel like looking for them now. So I decided to just leave it alone. I also ended the night getting some more rock points and I went back to clear out the battle tower, and to be honest, it was way easier this time. I went back to the town and I mined that throne of emeralds and I decided I was bored, so I wanted to go exploring for a good bit and try to find something interesting. I climbed up this mountain and I found a freaking dragon nearby, so I ran back the way I came. I went the other way to explore and I found a nether brick battle tower and I also found this village really close by. The village looked really good, but there was literally a freaking dragon not more than like 20 blocks away from me. And I'm pretty sure it saw me, so I teleported away very quickly before it killed me. I crafted a reforestation to make my gear better, and I finally got enough knowledge to tame a rock. All I need now is a saddle and a bunch of trees. I'll need a soulstone as well so that I can have an immortal mount, but that would have to wait. I enchanted my iron gear with some trash enchants, and I went back to the farm so that I can get enough XP to enchant. I wanted to start fishing pretty heavily this day, but if I wanted to fish through the night, I would need to build a safe location where I could fish in peace. I gathered wood and started digging out a nice location near the water to build my fishing hut. Now, I wasn't going to build anything nice since I didn't know when something would show up and burn my hut to the ground. So I decided to just build a nice wooden hut with an iron door so that the mobs couldn't break it down. I put fences on the water side of the hut so that the mobs couldn't come in from the water side. And the first night went pretty well, and I got an enchanted book from the water. I didn't want anything to fly in, so I built the fences all the way up to the top and left a little gap for me to fish. All I did was fish for the next couple of days. I got a Neptunian ingot pretty early on, and I also got a Neptunian pickaxe. I got some freaking frost troll leather as well, and I didn't even know you can get this through fishing, but this was super good since I heard that finding trolls were a big task in this new update, and I needed trolls to make my saddle. I don't know why they decided to make it so freaking tedious to get a saddle. I got bored of fishing and I ran out of chest space as well, so I decided I was gonna go fight in a dungeon for a while. I went into the battle tower and started killing the mobs. They started coming in pretty packed, and I'm not gonna lie, this battle tower took me forever to finally beat. Like, you will see the reason why it takes me so long to beat this battle tower, but all I'm gonna say is this battle tower has humbled me way too many times for my liking. Anyway, I almost died a few times, but I managed to make it out and heal. But this tower let me finally get my defense up to freaking 16. Now I can wear some diamond gear, but it's too bad I didn't have any diamond though. Got attacked by this freaking rare invisible little zombie, and he was giving me the business. Baby zombies are already pain in the butt, but this invisible one was the worst. I spent the rest of the night fishing, and I killed this blighted fishman. I got more wood and made more chests so I can store the fish, and I went back to fishing. I made 3 spears this day, 1 iron and 2 diamond. I couldn't use the diamond ones yet, so I enchanted the iron one with lesser sharpness 1, and then I reforged it for better quality. I went back to my fishing, and then it happened. A freaking blood moon was rising. But I was ready for this blood moon. My plan was to sit here and kill the mobs at a distance and pick up the XP in the morning. I kept killing mobs from the safe location, and I picked up the XP in the morning. I went back to the battle tower to farm XP, and it was going really well until I got attacked by this zombie of Wee. And the Wee made me fly in the air when I got hit by it. But I killed it, and I made more progress in the tower. When it got dark, I went back to base and started fishing. I decided I was going to fish through the night so that I can maximize my time throughout the day. In the morning, I went back to finishing clearing out the bottom floor of the battle tower. Now, this is the main problem with these towers. Witches. I don't know why, but they have become a major threat in this freaking update. They will literally mess you up badly with their potion effects. Imagine getting hit with a potion that rearranged your entire hotbar, or having your controls inverted, or both. And both of which happens to me way too often. That plus a ton of strong mobs will kill you so quick, and there will be almost nothing you can do about it unless you have an item that clears debuffs or a full set of silver gear. Anyway, I killed this zombie and got something called the Ender Queen's Crown, and I got this chest plate that I merged with my other one, and I fed my chickens. I went back to the farm for XP, and I finally got 16 attack. Now I can have diamond weapons. I farmed more XP so that I can enchant my diamond spear, and I put some nice enchants on my spear. Now I was far more deadly. I just needed better armor. I made some lockpicks and I fed my chickens, and now I'm back to grinding XP in this tower of death. Funny thing is, I almost got killed by this spider almost immediately when I got here. I looted this chest and there really wasn't anything good inside. To be honest, if you're not paying attention in here, you can very quickly get overwhelmed, especially if witches join in. Now, when I was trying to break this spawner, a witch dropped down, and then 2 more dropped down. Then this witch threw this freaking potion that contained the wrath of Thor at me. Explain to me why the hell these creatures have freaking lightning in a bottle. But yeah, I think there's probably a spawner of witches on the second floor or something, and witches freaking suck. I went back in and 3 more witches and a blighted witch freaking dropped down. I thought I had it beat by getting in the water, and then bam, I died a stupid death. I got my grave back and I went back inside for more death. There was another blighted witch, but I killed this one, but more witches came and hit me with some crazy hocus pocus. Now, I think you can see why I hate these damn things so much. They hinder progression so much. After I got my stuff back, I came up with a big brain idea. I needed to go past that village and it was being protected by that dragon, and I can't kill the dragon. So I made a blindfold and I tried to kill this Gorgon boss in this mausoleum over here. This mob will turn anything that looks at it into stone, and if you kill it, you can take its head and use it to turn any one mob to stone. I put on my blindfold and I summoned my Aegis. The Gorgon was doing some crazy damage, but I just barely managed to kill it with only half part left on my head. I took its head and I slept to heal. The next day, I was ready to try out my crazy plan. The worst thing that can happen is me losing my stuff, but mama ain't raised no chicken, so I teleported over and I rushed the beast. It started attacking me, and after it released its flames, it looked at the head and sealed its fate. I ended up burning to death, but I won the battle. Now, this is why I think the 2.9 update is really fun. It forces you to think of creative ways to solve tough problems. If this was 2.8, I would have already had a fully enchanted diamond gear by now. But here I am, still in iron gear, making very slow progress. I looted its nest for gold, and I saw some cool looking things to check out later. I ended the night by fishing in my little shack. I went back to explore that village near the dragon statue, and I saw this tower on top of this massive mountain, so I made my way over there. But when I got up here, I found out they actually wasn't on the mountain, that it was actually floating in the air, so I went back to the village. I found a villager with protection 3 enchant in the village. I spent the night fishing and got a second piece of troll leather. Now I only needed 1 more, but I still need the tusk and the feathers of those crazy birds before I can make my saddle. I got attacked by this rock and this enderman spawned in to protect me. The Ender Queen's crown is nice, but it also has a really big drawback, which you'll see later in this video. I wanted to try clearing the first few floors of this battle tower, and I died almost immediately. I ran back to my grave and I went back to trying to clear the floor. It seems like mobs just spawn in a ton in 2.9, but this was a great way to get fast and easy XP. I just had to make sure I didn't get trapped or jumped anywhere. It got dark, so I slept on this hill for the night. I saw another battle tower and I wanted to check it out. I made my way over there and I started killing the mobs, but something really strong spawned in, so I kept my distance. Some random zombie hit me with like a freaking bomb or something, so I had to heal very quick so I didn't die. I don't know why, but some really strong zombies kept spawning in, and I had to play it very safe so I didn't die. I killed the crazy ass zombie and picked up the loot. It was dark, so I ran back to the town for the night. I put the loot in my chest and I spent the rest of the night feeding my chickens. Then I decided to kill all the adult chickens and leave one of the babies for later. I noticed it was starting to get cold on this day, so I needed to start preparing for the winter. I went back out to explore on the other side of this dragon statue, and I saw that this dark part of the forest had a troll in it. So I killed it since it was a rare spawn, and I needed its tusk and leather for my saddle. I got some tusks, but no leather, and then I saw another troll in the forest, so I killed it, and again, no leather. I went back to base to put the items away. When I came back, there were more trolls in the forest, so I killed these, and I finally got my leather. And some more tusks as well. All I need now is the feathers for my saddle. I got another Neptunian ingot while fishing this night. The next morning it started to snow and I started to get cold fast. So I made a campfire to keep myself warm, and I'm not gonna lie, this is a wildly inefficient method. I did more exploring later on. It was cold and I was trying to see if I can find something interesting. Honestly, I got lucky with a really safe spawn, but I'm not gonna lie, it started to make progressing super slow because I was pretty much on like a giant island with dragons protecting the only other ways to explore on land. So without a flying mount, I would have to risk leaving this area by boat, but dying in the water would probably be the worst way to lose my stuff. I spent the next day looking for the librarian villagers I found before in the giant town. and I died saving this villager. And what is funny is that I died because the rain was kicking my butt. The Ender Queen's crown also made me very weak to rain, not just like seawater. So when I ran out of mana, I started taking some serious damage. I got my stuff back and I went back to looking for librarians. Spent the rest of the night fishing as well. This day, I tried to make an infinite fire source to keep myself warm since campfires were not really cutting it. But I messed up and my fishing shack started to burn down and I could just barely put it out before it got all the way burnt down. I rebuilt what I could and I went back to fishing in the cold. While fishing, a freaking cold ass event started out of nowhere. I tried my best to make it to the house, but I died while running. I respawned and ran back to the house, closed the door, and I went to sleep. I spent the next morning waiting out the frozen death mobs, and I finished rebuilding my fences, and guess what happened the very next day? Another damn blood moon decided to ruin my night. I ran back downstairs to prepare, and I spent the night shooting mobs from a safe distance. I did have to go downstairs and block off the doors though. The night ended with a creeper destroying my front door. I rebuilt it and found out that it was getting even colder and I didn't really have any way to deal with it besides making campfires. I spent the rest of the day fishing in the semi-warmth of my fishing shaft. I wanted to tame a rock even though I didn't have a way to ride it. So I got my soul stone and my treats and I waited for nightfall. I spent the night running around super cold looking for a rock, and every time I got too cold, I would go back to the campfire to heat up. I couldn't really go anywhere since it was so cold, so I just decided to fish the day away. While I was fishing this night, a rock flew into my shack, so I tamed it and used my soul stone on it so it would forever be mine. Now, all I needed was a saddle. I still tried a regular saddle to see if it worked, but it obviously did not. The next day, I went to get more wood so I can make more campfires, and I was freezing my butt off. I spent the next few days fishing in the warmth of my fishing shack, and the snow finally freaking stopped. Since I wasn't freezing my butt off anymore, I decided to go out exploring this day, and I found a Lincolnite's dungeon. I wasn't strong enough to beat this dungeon at all, so I just attacked this upside down battle tower nearby. And I got an achievement for killing a creeper with another creeper, and I found that pretty ironic. I did some exploring in the night and I got attacked by this fire-spitting zombie, so I went back home to fish. I went back to exploring and I saw a dragon protecting this side of the forest, though I couldn't keep going this way unless I got rid of it. I felt like I was progressing way too slow on this day, so I picked the direction and decided to just keep walking this way until I found something interesting or I died. I chose to go south, but I had to be careful and avoid this dragon that was in the forest. I found this random blacksmith house, but there was nothing really good inside of it, so I left. I kept going south and I found another Lincolnite's dungeon to later come back to, and I found this really weird wooden staircase that led all the way into the sky and into a tower. I was gonna risk going up the stairs, but I saw 4 random mannequins that had armors of various materials. I killed the crake and took the diamond set, and I didn't really have any good enchants at the moment, so I wasn't going to wear the armor anytime soon. I kept going south and I found this random house in the woods. I looted the chest and took the iron and continued my journey south. Eventually I came across a swamp, but I heard this scary roar that freaked me the hell out, so I went deeper into the swamp. I later found another one of those structures I keep finding everywhere, and I think this is the 3rd one I found so far in this video. I went to see what kind of enchants it had, and I found looting, a protection 3 and protection 4 book inside the top chest. I also found a librarian that had freaking advanced projectile protection. I really wish it was just advanced protection though, but beggars can't be choosers. I went back to exploring the swamp and I found a battle tower. I killed some weird looking lizards and I finally found those stupid birds that I needed to kill for my saddle. They started unloading their feathers onto me and my shield was the only reason I didn't die right here. I hid behind this rock and I summoned my Aegis for support. After the fighting was over, I ran and got the loot that it dropped, and I immediately used my return scroll so that I can go back to base. I didn't want to risk dying and losing all the loot I found. I took all the ingredients I needed to make my avian saddle. After almost 80 days, I could finally fly. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit emotional here because it was a ton of work just to be able to do something that usually takes like 20 minutes to do in a previous version. But at least it was fun doing it. I put the saddle on my rock and I went to sleep. I can now fly, and this is going to make progression so much faster. We can finally explore more of the world from the safety of a mount. I flew back to the house I found the day before, and I wanted to use my emeralds for the advanced projectile protection books. After that, I went to see what was in the tower. The rooms were pretty empty, but I found this diamond block on the 4th floor. But something started roaring and blowing things up, so I decided to just take the diamond block and run back down. Back at base, I started enchanting my armor with the new books I got, but I didn't have enough XP, so I went back to the farm for more XP grinding. But nature had other plans because I got killed by this ice mob that didn't despawn from that ice event. I got my stuff back and I went back to grinding for enchants. I also went back to get these Protection 3 books from this villager. I wanted to see if I could kill this golem now that I had a mount, but it did not go as planned. I'm just glad that I landed in the water. I wasn't as lucky the next time I tried it and I died. I went back to fight the golem and it kicked my butt again. I got my stuff back and I gave the hell up. I went to the other floating tower that I previously saw and I took the diamond block in it. Then I explored that floating island, but all I found inside this hole was some freaking food. I got attacked and killed by a Morag that night as well, and I did some exploring, but I got hypothermia because it was raining, so I had to come back to base and spend the rest of the night fishing. The next morning, I took my golden apples and decided to try fighting a dragon. Honestly, I wasn't expecting anything other than a fiery death, but the dragon knocked me into the water and it followed me in. This was a big mistake for the dragon because it got attacked by a sea serpent immediately. While these two freaking beasts were fighting each other, I decided I was going to start unloading my arrows onto the dragon. The dragon killed the serpent, but I don't know what happened here because it looked like it got stuck on something and it couldn't break free. So I just kept shooting it until it finally died. I really just killed a dragon and a sea serpent without really even doing anything. I looted the dragon and I went back home to make some dragon armor that I couldn't wear for a while. I also made a water dragon canteen from the dragon heart I got, and now I don't need to filter water anymore. I spent the next day cutting down trees trying to get some acorns. Now, you may ask, why the hell do you need acorns? Well, I added in the nature compass mod because I needed to find a very specific biome in the future, and I really didn't want to just randomly fly in a direction, especially since we're almost to day 100 and I haven't really made any real progress, and I honestly couldn't waste any more time. So, sorry. While cutting down trees that night, I got attacked by a pack of undead dogs and they almost killed me. I killed this stupid creeper that had spider powers and I made my compass to end the night. Now, the reason I needed the compass was for me to find the biomes of these very specific rustic plants. I could make some very good potions, but I needed very specific plants that only grew in certain biomes. I went out collecting the plants I needed. I got some wind thistles for my speed potions. I went out to look for a savanna biome so I can find some aloe for my potions of fire resistance. But I saw a tier 5 dragon skeleton, which I needed the head for my dragon's eye. But this one was being protected by a dragon, so I had to find a way to get the dragon away from the skeleton. I set my spawn in this brick house and I went outside, but I started getting attacked by some mobs. But something I couldn't see was making me very nauseous. And it turns out it was a freaking cockatrice. I killed it and tried to figure out how to get the bones, but I couldn't figure it out, so I just decided to come back at a later date. I found a desert village and I got lucky and found another tier 5 dragon skeleton close by. I took the bones and I found the aloe I was looking for. Now I can go regrow these plants back at base so I don't have to keep coming back here. I also died a funny death this night. I got picked up by a rock after fighting a freaking Ventoraptor and I got dropped in the water where I got killed by this eel. I killed the eel and I got my stuff back. I went to gather netherrack so I can make the advanced alchemy stuff. I also found some chamomile for health potions and some horsetail for boosting the length of my potions. I started replanting my plants so that I wouldn't have to always be finding more of these plants. I placed down my alchemic condenser and retorts on the roof of my hut and I made a ton of bottles. I played around with the condenser most of the day trying to figure out how it worked, and I spent the rest of the night fishing. I wanted to get some clay today so I can make some bricks for my potions of fire resistance. Now I don't need to worry about dragon fire since I have fire resistant potions. I went to go look for a jungle biome today because I needed to find some blood orchids and they only spawn in jungle. It would have been damn near impossible to find one without this compass, but that's just me justifying adding in the nature's compass mod. I found some cool looking places while flying this large distance. After what seemed like forever, I found the jungle and the hunt for the blood orchid began. Next to the jungle, I found a defiled lands biome, and this was great because I would have to spend a lot of time here later looking for a golden bookworm. After like 15 minutes of looking, I finally found the blood orchids. I spent the rest of the day in this swamp looking for some marshmallows, And that night, I planted my new plants in my now growing garden. I spent the morning flying around this forest trying to find some coal hash and ginseng root for my potion of health boost. I found another one of these buildings. That makes 4 now, and the chest had some really good loot as well. I spent this morning in the swamp looking for more plants, but I didn't find anything. I kept exploring and I found this ice biome with a nice looking ice dragon inside of it. I found a village near the dragon, so now I can go back and forth between here and my base. I went back home to replant my ginseng root, and then I went back to exploring. I was honestly hoping I'd get really lucky and stumble upon a Shavaxi monument here, but obviously that didn't happen. I found another defiled biome in another village very far away. In the village were some diamond armor as well. This day, I wanted to try something I saw on Reddit. I wanted to try and cheese this battle tower. I built a ledge on the tower and placed some water down so that I can jump down without dying. I broke into the tower, grabbed the chest, and jumped down. Step 1 went well, so I went back to get the second chest. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I got a little cocky here. I wanted to try to take the top chest, so I built up, put my water down, and I grabbed the chest and ran. But the golem was not happy about that at all.
Ooh. Okay.
And I thought I escaped, but this freaking thing jumped down and followed me, and I died, so I guess my lesson was learned. I got my stuff and left before I died again. The next day, I wanted to try looting another battle tower, but I decided to try a different method this time. But I ended up dying on this ledge instead. I got my stuff back and finished taking the chest. I stole the next chest, and again, I wanted to try the top tower because I was getting kind of arrogant. Now, I tried to do this from the side, and it didn't help at all. So I had a very angry golem shooting at me. I almost died, but I managed to escape. And I spent the next 10 minutes trying to kill this golem with my bow, but I found out that it was healing for way more than I was doing damage. I went back to base to put my loot away, and we've officially made it to day 100. Normally, I would end the video here, but I felt like we didn't have enough interesting content, so we're going to go all the way to day 200 instead. I started making my potions today. I got some potions of health boost, strength, speed, and fire resistance. I also enchanted this med kit with unbreaking so I can use it for an extended amount of time. I wanted to test out the potions in the Mega Battle Tower. This is a great way to get XP as long as I didn't get overran by the mobs. I had to be careful not to get boxed in, but if I kept this up, I can get my skills up to 24 in no time. Still, the witches and the random potion effects were major problems I had to watch out for. This one gave me freaking blindness for over 30 seconds. That is a long time for a debuff. I hate witches so freaking much. This one gave me inverted controls and I was so confused that I fell into the water. I couldn't figure out how to swim, but it's a good thing I had respiration on my helmet, so I just waited for the debuff to wear off. I had to end this freaking witch so quickly because I didn't want to get that debuff again. While I was getting cooked by these witches, a freaking fire event started. I jumped in the water for safety, but I still ended up getting killed by them. I ran out of my house so that they wouldn't destroy it, but look how nice this running animation looks though. I wanted to wait out the mobs, but I had to check to see if they destroyed my garden and my fishing hut. They didn't destroy anything, but this dragon nearby looked freaking cool. I wanted a closer look at the dragon, but something shot lava at me, so I decided I was just gonna leave. I went back and got my stuff. I refilled my potions and I went back to the tower for more death and destruction. I found out that this place also has wither skeletons inside of it. I got overran a few times, so I had to go outside for more space. Do you see how many freaking zombies this is? And why do every single one of them have armor on? On the bright side though, my defense is almost a 24, so I'll be able to wear dragon armor soon. I went back home to repair my damaged armor and I slept the night away. I went back to the tower and I ate a god apple to see if it'll let me progress more this time. It's so easy getting over your head in this dungeon because the mobs just don't ever stop coming. You have to be on your toes the whole time so you don't get caught in a bad situation. I finally got my defense to 24 and now I just need 24 attack so I can make my good dragon bone weapons. These creepers are so damn annoying with all the freaking holes they make in my freaking base area. I fed my chickens because I haven't done it in a while and I took my raw chicken to this villager for some emeralds. I slept in this brick house so that I can explore the dungeon underneath it in the morning. I went into the dungeon underneath the house and there was some okay looting here. I killed some decently buff mobs, but I got bored, so I decided I was going to leave. I decided to take my nature's compass to go find a defiled biome. I wanted to see if I can find a golden bookworm because I needed a scale to make my disenchantment table. But the problem was that the golden bookworm had a very low spawn chance, so it wasn't guaranteed that I would even find one. I found the defiled biome and I was going to stay here until I freaking found what I was looking for. But I decided I'll give myself a maximum of 20 days to find this golden bookworm. If I couldn't find it in 20 days, then I was just going to continue without it. I set my spawn here, so if I died, I wouldn't have to go all the way back to base, but there was a freaking blighted creeper outside of the house. It was so fast, and I barely got the door closed before it reached me. Nothing was really happening while I was flying around, though. 10 days through looking for this freaking BS, I was starting to get upset and bored. 16 days in, I was starting to lose hope, but on day 17, I found it. Now, all the freaking time I spent doing this wasn't wasted. I made my disenchantment table and I started gathering my enchanted weapons so I can disenchant them later on. I put all the books in a chest so I wouldn't need to look for them later on. I wanted to make some dragon bone weapons, but I needed to find some wither bones, which I did not have, so I had to wait on that. The next day, I wanted to try out a new method of looting battle towers that I saw on Reddit. The way this one works is you have to block off the chest with dirt so it doesn't open when you carry it. You also have to make sure you don't step on the tower until you block off the golem's vision with dirt. The method worked freaking great and I was able to get both chests, but I messed up on the bottom chest those and the golem got mad and I got attacked by these damn jousts or whatever they called. I got my stuff back and I went back to the base before I died. I learned that in the basement of these buildings that I kept finding all over the world, that there is a secret room inside of it. You just have to pull this candle and a secret room would open up, but it wasn't working for this base because I had already dug into the wall of my base. The good thing about this room is that they always have 2 XP tomes inside of them. I went to the other 3 buildings that I found to get the tomes and the lever worked inside of them, unlike in my base. I decided now that I had a decent amount of XP from the tomes that I should be able to enchant my dragon armor a bit, but I wanted to reforge them with scales so I can get better quality. I enchanted a few pieces of gear and I decided I would enchant the rest after I farmed some XP from the dungeon. I failed at choosing a battle tower this day, so it looks like you can't use this method when the chests are locked because you won't be able to pick up the chest and the golem will get alerted and he will shoot you. I made my way to this dungeon because I remembered that it had wither skeleton spawners inside of it and I needed bones for my new weapons. This was a great place for XP and emeralds since the illagers dropped emeralds all the time. I still had to be careful not getting overrun, but after doing so well in here, I got killed by a freaking zombie that was on fire. I really got killed by the fire and not the zombie, but I came back and got my stuff and I went back to base so I didn't lose any more XP. I could now make my weapons. I made a dragon bone pike, a dragon bone greatsword, and a dragon bone bow as well. I reforged the weapons for legendary quality since I had so many dragon bones lying around, and I went to go get the other XP tomes that I forgot about. I made more potions because I was starting to run out of them as well. I needed dragon blood for my weapon, so I went back to that dragon that was protecting the tier 5 dragon skeleton I found all days back. I drank all my potions to prepare and I went in and it killed my mount and rushed me. I fell in this hole and the dragon kept shooting fire down at me, but I wasn't taking that much damage because I had fire resistance. I summoned my Aegis and I dug myself out. My spear had flinging on it, so as long as I kept hitting the dragon, it couldn't really hit me. But the fire spawned in some cinders, and for some reason, they could hit me even though I had fire resistance. I killed the dragon, but I started taking damage from hypothermia, and the cinders were also doing a ton of damage to me, even though they couldn't burn me. I killed them, but I got attacked by a freaking another cockatrice. I killed the cockatrice and I got my blood and teleported home. I upgraded my weapons to the fire dragon bone variant, and I went back for all the dragon bones. I tried to fight this golem now that I had better weapons and it did not go well. I got my stuff back and I spent the rest of the night finishing up my knowledge points for the Ventoraptor since I was so close. I went out to get more Salix meat so that I can make more Avian Treats, and I wanted to tame some Ventoraptors. I needed the raptors as an additional source of protection in the dungeons, and they also did a pretty good amount of damage to mobs as well. I found one early into the night and I tamed and soulbounded it, but I did not find another one until the next night. But now I have my 2 beautiful raptors and we will kill everything together. I killed this big brute dragon and it dropped some Prismarine Crystals, and this was the last item that I needed to make my Stone of the Sea. Now I didn't have to worry about dying underwater or drinking unfiltered water. The Stone of the Sea would also make me very fast in the water as well. I went back into the Mega Battle Tower with my pets to test them out, and I also needed more XP for my enchants. The pets helped a lot, but I still got easily overran by mobs, so I had to be very careful. I had to keep the potions of fire resistance on at all times because I would catch on fire because of the mobs. I went exploring the next day and I found another one of these buildings. It had some pretty good enchants in the top of the chest, and I also took the XP tomes. I later found another one, and it also had good enchants as well. I went into the other mega battle tower because I wanted the loot at the bottom, and I thought that it would give me a lot of XP. It was going really well until this damn witch hit me with a potion that rearranged my entire inventory. And to say I was confused was a major understatement. I ran out of the dungeon to fix my inventory, and I spent the next morning taking care of my garden and making more potions. I also made a nether portal this night because I felt like I was ready to be able to take on the nether. And I went into the portal and it was pretty tame at first, but that didn't last very long. I got attacked by a bunch of freaking mobs and I tried running away, but they stopped me while I was in the portal. I went back and got my stuff and I ran like hell because honestly, I am not prepared for the nether. On this day, I wanted to switch out my fire dragabone weapons for the ice variant, so I went back to that ice biome that I found previously, and me and my pets rushed this ice dragon. The fight was pretty easy, and I didn't even take any damage from the freaking dragon. I took its blood, scales, and bones, and I went back to my base so I could make the ice weapons before using the bones to reforge in the legendary quality. The next morning, I killed this blighted crake and got a ton of XP from it. I need a ton of XP so that I can keep enchanting my weapons, and this and the XP tone I've been saving have been helping me greatly. I died a really dumb death in the morning because I got burnt to a crisp by this demon dog, but I almost made it to the water right before I died. I went back to one of the battle towers I previously found, and I decided I was going to clear it out completely today. I realized that even if I didn't have a fire weapon, I still needed to have potions of fire resistance because some of these mobs just randomly catch on fire and they will kill me if I'm not careful. I was making a ton of progress, but so far the loot in the dungeon really wasn't worth it. I was getting a ton of XP from this dungeon, so I really don't have to worry about XP like that anymore since I can farm it pretty easily. And I can save the XP I got with my XP tome, so I really don't have to worry about losing XP either. I triggered the golem by accident, but I ended up killing him with almost no problem. But I had to jump out of the tower since it was blowing up, and I almost died from the freaking damage. I went back up to the tower and got all the loot that dropped, and I went back to my base so I can store the XP away. I went back to this tower and killed the golem that was giving me so many problems before, and other than making me drop my weapon, it was a pretty easy fight. I looted another battle tower and found a village with a library. The enchants under the stairs weren't that bad, to be honest, and I also found another sharpness enchant upstairs. I ended the day by looting a battle tower, but this one had a blaze spawner in it, so I used that as a place to farm blaze rod. I went back to this dungeon today because I wanted to clear it out, but I forgot my sleeping bag and I didn't want to fight this dungeon at night, so I went back to base and I would come back later. On the way back, I found another village that had a library inside, and inside this library, the librarian villager had freaking advanced sharpness 5. And this is a freaking fantastic enchant if you don't have supreme sharpness. And inside the chest were also some pretty nice tomes as well. The chest upstairs was also nice as well. I came back to the dungeon and summoned my pets, and we started clearing this place out. After making good progress, I teleported back home to store my XP and put my loot away. I went back to the advanced sharpness villager to do some trades, and I also did some enchanting. I made 2 strength rings and reforged them until I got the undying quality. I came back to the dungeon to continue my siege. There was a room with nothing but witches inside, and honestly, I was so terrified that I'll get hit by some crazy potion, but instead, I got killed by this giant wasp. I got my stuff back, and I went home and put all my loot away. I got attacked by this Morak at night, but I wanted to try to see if I can use a soul gazer on it so that I can get the knowledge points, but it killed me instead. This is how I know I would freaking suck at doing a hardcore run, because I always died doing the dumbest stuff. I came back to the dungeon and I found another room full of witches. I also almost got blown up by this TNT trap, but I'm way too smart for that now. I wanted to teach the tower at the top by freaking digging into it because I didn't want to continue doing the dungeon, but something blocked me from doing it. I left and killed this golem, but the chest at the top was locked, so I had to jump off and get the loot later. Now I felt confident that I can finally take on this mega battle tower as long as I didn't get jumped by a freaking gang of witches. So I buffed up and I went for it. I got caught in a corner and I thought I was honestly going to die, but I managed to live on. The most annoying thing that can happen in a large mob fight is one spawning in with the sticky freaking quality, and it makes you drop your weapon, and it's a pain to try to get it back. I really needed to find Curse of Possession, but I have no idea where I can find it, and I was just unlucky with it. So I'm just going to keep dropping my weapons until I find it. I decided I had enough of this freaking dungeon, so I went back to my base for a break. I went into the other Mega Battle Tower today, and something happened that made me so very upset. I got hit by a potion that freaking inverted my control for freaking 2 whole minutes. This is such an insanely long time for a damn debuff. And if that wasn't bad enough, my freaking weapon dropped right after, and I was trying so hard to pick it up, but the witches had other plans. Honestly, I don't really know what else I can say about me dying right here, because like it was pretty much scripted. I rushed back to see if I can find my lost weapon, but as you can see, I couldn't even breathe, so finding that weapon was not a possibility. I went back in to see if I could find it again, but I'm pretty sure it was gone. I lost a great weapon because of the freaking sticky quality, and I still had inverted controls even after I left the dungeon. Like, who decided witches can do bullshit like this? I went back into the dungeon after the debuff ended to see if I'd be blessed and find my weapon, but I didn't, and it was just more witches, so I went back home feeling very defeated. I made an Ice Dragonbone Halberd to replace my pike, and I reforged it for legendary quality. I started going back to Librarian Villages to try to re-roll for some good enchants, but I didn't really get anything good so far. I went back to another Librarian, and this one gave me Critical Strike 3, which I think is a pretty good enchant, but I really haven't tried it out like that. I enchanted my halberd with some okay enchants, and I'll do more once I get more XP and find better enchantment books. I spent the night killing mobs for XP, and I trapped this zombie villager in my base so that I can cure him later. I kept going from villager to villager trying to find the rerolls for better enchants, but I never got anything too good. I spent most of the day remaking my potions, and I later found this underwater dungeon. I dove into the deep, but instead of going to the dungeon, I went to this structure first. I didn't really find anything good, so I decided I'll just go back to land to fight this battle tower over here. I killed the golem really quickly and I took the loot and jumped down. I now have a cobalt shield for knockback resistance. I went back home to reforge the shield for undying quality. I killed this dragon for the green skill so that I can reforge my armor to masterful, and I killed another green dragon and started reforging as well. I looted another tower and jumped off at the right time right before the big kaboom. After 168 days, I finally gathered the resources to make my dragon's eye. From now on, I won't have to worry about fire damage at all anymore. And the night vision was also a good bonus as well. I made some equipment forges and a summoning pedestal for better protection of my base. Now, I finally felt like I was ready to beat this freaking battle tower. After 100 days of fighting this tower, we finally reached the top, but the problem was there was a golem here. This was not something that was in an old version of RLCraft, so I guess Shavaxi wanted a lot more danger. The golem wasn't that hard to kill with my strong weapons, but I had to deal with these stupid vexes before the loot despawned. I found a bunch of nice tomes and some other good loot here as well. I wanted to start making Lycanites food this day since they gave really good buffs. I made some shovels to clear out this area, and I made a ton of fences so I can try to make a breeding pen for some macas. I spent the day filling holes and clearing space for my breeding pen. I didn't want to make the pen too big, but I also needed a decent amount of space so they wouldn't get cramped up on each other inside the pen. I flew to the town to bring this maca back to the pen for breeding. You can breed them with just wheat, and I brought a golden alpha maca back as well, but I was stupid when I made this pen because I didn't light it up with any torches, so at night, mobs spawned in and they killed my livestock. The freaking lion spawned inside the damn pen and tried to kill my babies. I lit up the pen and went out for more mobs. I decided to build another pen for the big green dinosaurs near the dragon statue. I cleared out some space and I started to lead them back in here with more wheat. I also found some pumpkins and I took some iron blocks and made some iron golems to protect my little base area. I got more of these dinosaurs in this pen, and now I finally have a proper farm for this mob. My markers got killed again this night, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna go find any more. I went back to the tower to take my torches back, and I went to go loot another giant battle tower. I dug into the top of the tower and destroyed the Vex spawner, and then I dug into the side, and this zombie shot a freaking bomb at me. But I was determined, so I killed the golem and looted the chest in peace. The chest had some really good loot, and I switched out a strength ring for a ring of iron skin, and I did some reforging. I went back to this vineyard near my base and took the grapes. I wanted to make some wine because it can make you really overpowered, but I didn't have a way to get rid of the nausea that it gave you. I went into this reverse battle tower and I was putting in work, but I ended up dropping my weapon right here, but I was not losing it again. At the bottom of the tower, there was another dungeon, but I really didn't want to keep going and end up dying, so I decided I'll go home and store my XP. I went back to my Aerosaur farm and I did some breeding. I wanted to see if I was ready to fight this dungeon, and long story short, I was not. Because the spiders inside this dungeon were doing some serious damage, and the fishmen were also very annoying, so I left before I died. I decided I was going to fight the wither this night, so I grabbed my wither skulls and my soul sand so I can summon the creature. In hindsight, I probably should have waited to summon my pets because they got blown up by the wither, and the wither itself was kind of annoying with all the explosions, but I killed it, but I freaking ended up dying after killing it because of the wither effect. I got my stuff back and I summoned it again and killed it again this time, but this time I did not die. I made a poison stone today and I attacked another mega battle tower. I killed the golem and took all the loot and went back to base. I killed a cyclops and attacked this sleeping dragon over here. There was another dragon across the lake, so I killed that one as well. I looted this tower near the dragons and I made my glorious escape. I found another one of these dungeons, but the witches inside had me messed up, so I had to run to safety. I came back for the chest at the top, and this witch honestly had me messed up with freaking its potion. I found another one of these structures and I took the XP tones, and the top chest honestly was kind of trash. I looted another battle tower and I went back to the underwater dungeon because I felt like I was ready this time. The chest has some pretty good enchants, and the guardians weren't really doing that much damage to me. I had to leave the water every once in a while because I was starting to get really cold inside of it, and I almost died because this one guardian. I looted this mega battle tower and I freaking found what I needed the most in this chest. The freaking forbidden fruit. And now I can freaking start making my wine and I can get very OP. I also found this enchantment book with strength and vitality. This is also very helpful. I wanted to start making wine today, and also I wanted to try making the Lankonites food as well, so I gathered my grapes and some wild berries. I found this villager with advanced sharpness 5 while I was looking for more berries and grapes. The bottom of the house is in fact a brewery or a winery, so I decided I was going to set some chests up down here, and I put down the crushing table so I can start to crush the grapes. You had to jump up and down to make the juice, and then you have to get a bucket for the juice and you put it inside this fermenting barrel. This barrel turns the juice into wine after about a day, but the quality varies. I went out to get more grapes and berries. I got my first bottle of wine today, but it also had very terrible quality. I collected more meat for my food buffs, and I also collected more grapes for my wine. I spent the rest of the night making wine. I made a switch bow today, and I enchanted it with some really good enchants. I also made some potions, and I wanted to test out the wine and the potion effects together. I made some food and I tried out how well the wine will work. The wildberry wine upgrades the buffs that you have up to like, I think 3 or 2. And the regular wine extended the duration of the wine, but that is also based on the quality of the wine. If I didn't have a way to get rid of nausea, then this would not be a very good method for fighting. But with the forbidden fruit bauble, then you don't have to worry about nausea at all. If you have enough wine, you can pretty much keep this up forever and you'll be super OP unless you die. I spent the night killing monsters, testing out my might, and I spent the next few days doing nothing but making wine. I went back to the Lankonites dungeon today and I wanted to clear it out with the help of my buffs. The buffs made clearing the dungeon a lot easier, but there was still a ton of freaking mobs to kill. The first boss was super easy to kill because it was stuck in this freaking hole. The second boss was just as easy since it was also stuck in this lava over here. Now, the last boss, I'm not gonna lie, he had me beat because it was flying and it also did something that got rid of all my freaking buffs. So I had to leave or I would die. When I got back to base, I was gonna try to heal, but a freaking event started and it was a dragon event and I knew immediately that I was gonna die. These freaking dragons killed me before I can even blink. And they kept killing me until I decided I was just gonna wait it out until they despawned. I found out that while I was waiting for them, they burned down my house. This house has been with us for almost 200 days and it's now gone. So put F's in the chat for the OG base. I tried to put out the fire of the house, but it just wasn't happening. And these cinders started attacking me. So I just gave up and went into the basement to make more wine. I wanted to fight this dungeon that I found a while back, and man, it was damn chaotic in here. There were so many mobs trying to fight you at once, and I really couldn't see what was happening. The dungeon was going pretty well until I realized that I lost all my buffs, so I ran back home before I ended up dying down here. I decided I wanted to make a lot more wine because I didn't want to run out, but look how good this animation looks, but I was also making a ton of wine. 300 days is going to be a lot easier with all the wine that I'm currently making. I spent the rest of the day hunting dragons for fun, and I beat more battle towers and killed even more dragons. Finally, we have reached 200 days, and man, it was a trip to get here. I died so many freaking times, and honestly, I'm really glad I didn't try this in hardcore because I don't know how long it would have took me to complete this video. I want to try a hardcore run eventually, but I just don't think I have the time or the patience for that right now. This series was really fun, and I'm planning to keep going until I beat all the bosses, so it's gonna be a couple 100 days before I get it done. But I don't know if I want to do it back to back, but I'll let you guys vote on that if you want me to continue the 100 days for RLCraft or if you want to see something else in the meantime. But I wanted to say thanks for getting me to 1,000 subs. We got here way faster than I anticipated. And I honestly really appreciate your support. And I actually really love making content, and I'm glad you guys enjoy it. But I'm with the Chuck guys, and it's been a pleasure. I'll catch you guys next time.